There we are. Okay. Hey, everybody. Everything good? Oh, I got to record local too, just in case. Sweet. All right. How's everyone going today? Excellent. Now we start getting viewers in. Sweet. When I first connected, had an error. I was like, no, I don't want to deal with that today. Like, I just want the stream to go smoothly, please. I have some cookies. I'm a little hungry. Need a snack. How's everyone going? How's everyone doing today? I don't see anyone in the chat. Everyone say hi. Who's here? Let me know who's here. Oh, there we go. Mr. Jones is here. Mr. Cole. Sweet. Bruno, thanks for popping in. Josh, did you go have that drink yet, Josh? Excellent. Sound and video. Perfect. Dr. Bob is in the house. Excellent. Franco, how's it going? Oh, look, we got David here. Excellent. Mr. Workman's in the house. The other Mr. Workman. The Mr. Workman. Matt, thanks for popping in. Okay. So today, all stemmed from a post on the community by a user, Harry. And I'm actually having a very fun time with Harry this morning. Harry, I don't know if you're in here, but hopefully you are. We've been going back and forth on an offsite issue. I think there's a misunderstanding or something like that, but whatever. We will figure that out. That is not the topic of today. The topic of today is troubleshooting, because Harry had a post 2 days ago. Maybe it was 3 days ago. 3 days ago. Okay. And let me bring up this post. Okay. And I'm not picking on Harry here at all. I just thought it was a great example that I know a lot of us run into. Okay. Conceptually wise, right? This specific issue is actually very specific to Harry, but yeah, I thought it was a interesting topic or interesting time to talk about troubleshooting and how Harry could have figured this out. Okay. Now, actually, before I jump into what the actual problem was, right? Let me just talk about something really quick. When you post on the community or when you're asking for help, especially with web design, it is extremely beneficial to give as much information as you can, okay? And preferably not just words, okay? I'm sure you've probably heard, or if it's probably a saying in your language, if you know, English isn't or American isn't your culture, right? But there's this saying called "a picture is worth 1,000 words," right? And I would say when you're asking for help on a web page, a link to a web page is worth 10,000 words. Okay. Right. Because if I can quickly see an example of what you're trying to do, it allows me and others to help you much faster. Okay. So yeah, just that public service announcement, just to get that out of the way really quick. And one other small little thing. Okay. I know sometimes I will ask, hey, can you please provide an example and produce a project file or give me a web page to publish online. And some people are like, that it will only take you like 10 minutes to recreate this on your own. And that is true, right? Let's say you spit out an example and I fully understand it, right? And I'm like, well, can you replicate that for me so that I can, try to fix it, or, basically it would be appreciated if you could help me help you. Okay. I help, I don't know, anywhere from 20 to 100 people a day. Okay. And if each person was like, Joe, it just takes you 10 minutes, it would eat up my entire day. Right. So even if it just takes you 2 minutes, right, if you save me 2 minutes, That's 2 minutes times, let's say 50 people, right? That's 100 minutes. That's almost 2 hours of my time that I kind of get back that I can then use to, you know, make awesome stuff and help more people. So, if I do ask you to publish something or produce some sort of project file to help me save some time, just it would be awesome if you just understood why I'm asking you that. So anyway, okay, public service announcement number 2 over. Okay. Troubleshooting 101. Let's go through to figure out how you can figure out your problems. Well, at least your website problems, because I know like Josh and a few other of these guys got some problems that I can't handle. Okay. All right, let's get back into this problem. So Harry had a very interesting issue. Now, I think he had a screenshot of it in here. Let's see. Shoot, he didn't have a screenshot. Oh, no, he did. Okay. So he had an SVG here, okay? And when he was previewing it on his webpage, it looked like that. What the heck's going on? Okay. So it turns out, I'll spoil the mystery for you. There was actually a conflicting SVG on the page that was causing this particular SVG to be styled differently. Okay. So luckily, he has fixed this on his webpage. Here, let's just visit it. He actually, pretty sure he's fixed it. Yeah. So this was the webpage. Hope you don't mind me sharing your page here, Harry. But I did tell him I was doing a live stream on this. So this SVG up here was causing this SVG down here to be completely grayscale, basically. It wasn't grayscale. It was like I think it was taking the colors from the letters and it was applying those colors over here, something like that. I'm not 100% sure of what the actual fix for this was. It was an Illustrator thing. He said he fixed it on his forum post. So if you would like to know what he did to fix that, reply to him here. Hopefully Harry can let us know what he did in Illustrator. But without further ado, let's jump into the problem at hand, because luckily before he fixed this, I got copies of those SVGs. Okay. So here we have a web page, and obviously I have SVG number 1, SVG number 2, and I just created some stupid layout. Doesn't really matter. Okay. Just so we had something that wasn't just 2 SVGs on the page. So I'm going to preview this. Now, as we see here, it actually looks good, right? In preview, I see this SVG and I see this SVG, and everything's styled the way I would expect it to be styled. Obviously, at some point, he was previewing inside preview, and it looks great. But when we preview inside a different browser, this is a Arc browser, and similar to Chrome. Basically, it uses Chrome as a backend. So when he previewed in Chrome, all of a sudden this issue popped up. And he's like, "What the heck?" Right? This SVG. Well, obviously he didn't realize there was a conflict between the SVGs, but he was like, "Why is Chrome turning my SVG from this, red gradient to this solid color? What's going on?" And he posted on the community, and I was just like, I don't know, right? So how did I figure this out? I'll show you how I figured this out without a project file, and then I will revert back to if I had this project file, which I do now, how would I fix it, or how would I troubleshoot this? Okay, so just to let you know, what I did is I went and I inspected the page. Right now, I'm not going to dive all into this dev inspector today. I have a few videos on using the dev inspector and whatnot, and it's really cool. I extremely urge you to learn if you're going to be doing web design for a while. Knowing your tools can make your life a lot easier. Okay. So we're not going to dive into too much of this today, but basically all I did was I was like, okay, there's some sort of SVGs are styled, right? Essentially, it's like styling text colors, right? I mean, the SVGs are styled with CSS, actually. So what's going on here? Why is this SVG not getting styled properly? And I did kind of poke around and looked inside of this SVG and was like, I don't know. I don't know this SVG code very well. Obviously, it's not hand coded. It's exported from Illustrator. It does have this little style tag in there, but I don't know if that's correct or not. I don't know, right? So all I did was I was like, okay, maybe there's something else on this page conflicting, okay? And essentially, I was just in the dev inspector, and I was just like deleting stuff. Oh, oops, I didn't want to delete that, right? In the dev inspector, you can actually like highlight stuff and just delete. And if you notice, when I deleted that, okay, so I highlighted this row here, and I just said delete that. And you'll notice that when I deleted that, it was like boom! All of a sudden, I was like, whoa! Look at that! I deleted that piece of content, and it's gone, right? So let's Command Z. Let's bring it back. Okay. And so then I go, okay, let's dive into this. So this is a container. And then now on his site, he had a lot more complex stuff. I just have text and an SVG in here, right? But I was like, okay, let me dive into this. And I'm gonna delete that. Okay, well, that's the problem still lies in there. All right, so let's delete this column. Oh, look at that. Okay, that did it. Okay, so let's Command Z that. And then I'm gonna expand this out a little bit. And here's an SVG stack. What happens if I delete this SVG? Oh boy, if I delete that one SVG, all of a sudden, boom. Okay, so let's validate that again. I'm going to refresh the page. Now, one thing when you saw me deleting all this stuff from the DOM, it's just a temporary thing. Once I refresh the page, everything is just there again, right? Which is kind of cool. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to inspect this SVG. And I'm going to delete this SVG. And only that SVG. I delete that, boom. I know once I deleted that SVG, boom, my icon is as it should be. So I knew that was the conflict, right? Now, this is quite a simpler kind of conflict that we can find, right? Not everything is potentially that simple, okay? But the concept is there, right? So, cool. That's how I figured it out. And I told him, I was like, Harry, you got a conflict between these two SVGs. Now, if we're curious, I'm assuming, if you remember when we looked at inside that other SVG, there was like a style tag. I actually haven't even looked at this problem, what the problem is. I assume in here, yeah. So if we look in this, both SVGs have a style tag, okay? And this has a .st0 and a .st1 that has a fill property, okay? And I'm going to assume if I look in this one, it's also going to have the same thing. I'm guessing here. Oh, it doesn't. Okay. I was wrong. I don't know the exact conflict between these two SVGs. Okay. He figured it out how to do it in Illustrator. So good on him for that. But yeah, there we go. Okay. The point was there was a conflict between these SVGs. And he figured out how to resolve that conflict with Illustrator. I'm not an Illustrator nut, so I don't really know. Can't really help you out there. Okay, but hopefully, Harry, if you watch this, let us know in that thread what you did. Maybe I'll post it in the next Weaver Bites newsletter. Okay. Okay, so let's close this out. How can we have troubleshooted this with inside stacks, right? How can we troubleshoot this? So, first, what I would do, okay, is process of elimination. Okay. We live in an ecosystem where there's a lot of chefs in the kitchen, per se, right? There's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, right? You're using my stacks. There's right now we have RapidWeaver and Stacks plugin, right? Maybe you have a theme that isn't Foundation. Maybe there's a theme. You have other stacks from other developers on the page. And basically what happens is all the code from all these different developers gets shoved into this melting pot, right? And yeah, when that happens, sometimes there's little conflicts here and there, right? I mean, it's not the fault of developers. I mean, we can't know everything that every other developer is going to do. We can't know what every other plugin or stack is going to do, right? So there is bound to eventually be a conflict. And this isn't, I should say, this isn't limited to just the stacks world. This is true for almost any web development world at all. Like, if whether or not you're using any of those other horrible things that we won't even mention here, right? Like WP or any of those other frameworks or pieces of software. Everything on the web kind of uses a lot of libraries and frameworks and stuff like that. And all of those are from different developers. All of those are, unless you are hand coding your website and you've done everything yourself, and even then, you're probably gonna have conflicts with your own stuff, right? So that's just the world we live in on the web. So this is just a common solution, or a common issue, I should say, that is going to be prevalent throughout any sort of web development, no matter what software you're using to build web pages. Okay, so, but back to stacks. How are we going to solve that in stacks? How do I know? So there's a conflict on this page. Sadly, there isn't a conflict. I always use Command P. That it is like ingrained in my brain. If I use Command R, okay, it looks great. Okay. So how do we troubleshoot this? First thing first is duplicate your page. Okay. Well, actually, first off, I'm going to create a new page. Okay. Because I had a problem with this SVG, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this SVG. Okay. I'm going to isolate my problem. Okay. I'm going to paste this. The only thing on my page now is this SVG. Okay. And I'm going to preview this in the browser. Boom. Okay. So the SVG itself is not the problem. Right? So I've isolated the problem, or I've proven that the problem isn't with the SVG, right? So step number one, take whatever component that you think it has an issue and implement it on its own on a different page with at least as minimal content on it as possible. Okay, so here I've proven that the SVG itself is good. Now, since the SVG itself is good, that means there's something external to it that is causing issues. Okay, so let's keep going. All right, so now that I've duplicated that and I've made sure that that isn't the problem, okay, I'm going to delete this page. All right, and what I can do is I'm going to duplicate the home page. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate the home page. Right, so now I have a duplicate of this page, and what I can do is we just start deleting stuff. Right, so I could be like, I'm going to delete some bad stuff I know isn't the case. I'm going to delete that entire thing, and I'm going to preview. Oh, well, I deleted all that content. I still see the problem. So I didn't delete the problem yet. Okay, so let's keep going. Right, I'm going to go ahead and let's close that out. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete this stack, right? And delete that one. Preview. Oh, still got the problem. Okay. So let's go back. I'm going to go and, just go through, just keep deleting stuff on the page. I don't have a lot of stuff on the page to delete, right? But now all of a sudden I'm going to be like, I'm going to delete this SVG. Voila. Whoa, it's working. Okay. Now to verify that, that was the problem, right? What do we do is, let's go back, right? And the dreaded Command Z sometimes can be scary, right? But Command Z, and voila. Okay, I got my SVG. Let's verify. If I put that SVG back, oh, my problem's back. Right? So process of elimination. Again, I eliminated the SVG. I previewed in this browser, which was just where I can see the problem. And voila. Right? I've now isolated it, and I know that there's now a conflict between this stack and this stack. Now, these are two SVGs, right? But let's say you had a conflict between, I don't know, impact and rain check. I don't know, something like that, right? Where, again, you duplicate your page and just start deleting stuff. Boom. Just go no holds barred on it, right? Just delete entire sections of the page, preview it, or, replicate the problem. If the problem's still there, keep deleting until you find the issue, right? And because I've duplicated this page, my original page is still intact, right? So you shouldn't be scared about deleting stuff because it's just a duplicate, right? And then once you find and resolve the problem, you just go ahead and delete this duplicate page from your project file. Voila, right? So then I can go ahead and, fix the problem. Pretty straightforward, right? Hopefully this gives you some ideas or some good troubleshooting steps. That's kind of all I wanted to talk about for this particular situation. I think it's a great set of troubleshooting things. Now, I wanted to talk about, this is a very simple scenario, right? It doesn't cover a lot of things. But again, I thought it was a simple enough scenario that I could show you guys the basic steps to how to troubleshoot this particular situation, right? And you can take these steps and apply it to your troubleshooting situations as well. Now, this morning, I didn't want to leave it at that. I tried to think about... Oh, look, see, Steven said, took a while to figure out that impact causes the font awesome force snippet warning. Oh, there we go. If you use certain features in impact, it does use font awesome, I believe. You probably had a process of elimination of deleting stuff to try to figure out what is causing this, right? And then all of a sudden you deleted impact and boom, I really should work on Impact 2.0. Maybe that could be something next year. Okay. I think Impact is a very popular stack. I think it could use a refresh. And probably removing a font awesome 4 is definitely something that could be on the list. Okay. But anyway, I digress, right? Let's come back. And so this morning I thought about what can we do? And so what I did was I wrote out, where is it? Right here. I wrote out just some troubleshooting steps that I think. And I was going to share this Markdown document, but then I remembered I have this cool app called DeckSet. And I turned that Markdown document into a presentation. Now, don't get used to this, guys, because having slides, hey, I'm not going to do this every time, but this is kind of cool. I was like, hey, I got this cool app. Let's it just converts a Markdown document into a slide deck. So I thought, why not? So this is troubleshooting. Oops, that is here. Website Troubleshooting 101. Here we go. Okay. And I can't see you guys because it puts stuff on my other display, but whatever. If there are any questions, I'll get to it. I wonder if I can just close down hold on one second. Oops, that's not what I want. Can I not use the settings? No, I don't want to customize the theme. I don't want the second display. It takes over my second display. I want to see the chat. What's that do? Nope, that's not what I want. Darn it, they don't have a setting for that? Markdown editor. That's their only setting is to choose your Markdown editor. Well, presentation. Oh, we could do play slideshow. That kind of works. All right, we'll do that. That way it's in a window. And here, I'll just make it big. That way I can still see the chat, guys. Okay, cool. There, I can close that. And I don't think we're gonna need that anymore. That's it. All right. Website Troubleshooting 101. Here we go. That is an app called DeckSet. Cool little app. Okay. So what changed? Basically, step one is if something was working before and now it's not, what did you change? Right? I know that's a simple question, but a a lot of times it's, oh, I added this CSS snippet or this JavaScript snippet to the page inspector. And yeah, that broke my page, right? So yes, if your web page was working before and now it's not, what did you do to break it? It could be it could be another stack, another stack. It could be changing of a setting, right? There's sometimes like two stacks can work together, but maybe it's just when you tick a particular setting, all of a sudden that causes a conflict, right? It's not just two stacks on the page. It could be a particular setting in a stack breaks some other stack, right? So just think about what have you recently done to break it, okay? Especially if it's worked before. So that's a big one, okay? Just think about what you've recently done and try to undo that. Hey, next thing is reproduce the issue, right? So I kind of went over this already, right? Try to replicate the issue. So sometimes it's nice to, I know a lot of times what people tend to do is I have a problem and they don't understand what the problem potentially is, and that's fine. And what they do instead is they go and start changing settings. They're not sure exactly if the settings they're changing is actually doing anything, but yeah, they've changed a bunch of settings to do something, and somehow some magic combination of settings that they did maybe did what they were intending to do, but then that broke something else on the page, right? So yeah, so what I recommend a lot of times, what we do is take a new page, okay, and implement just that one thing. Now, in my example I showed earlier, it was just an SVG. So it was just like creating a new page, and then I isolated the problem. In that case, it was just an SVG stack, right? But maybe yours is an accordion, a problem with an accordion. So what I'd recommend, instead of trying to, troubleshoot it on your page, create a new page, implement that accordion from scratch. Okay, implement it all over again. Okay, don't copy and paste. Okay, implement it again. Because a lot of times when you implement something again, you're like, oh, wait, it's working now. Like, what's going on? Right? So yes, isolate the problem, implement that one particular stack again from scratch. Because a lot of times what you do is you've learned, as you're changing all those little settings and stuff, troubleshooting stuff, right? You've learned a little bit, right? So I recommend go to a new page, reproduce the problem. I bet you a decent amount of times you're not going to be able to reproduce it. It's just going to work, okay? That's probably why most of the time when people come to the Hangouts or the post, or they'll come to a live stream and they're like, Joe, I have this problem. You add this stack to the page and then you do this. And then I do it, and then I'm like, it's working. And they're like, what the heck? It wasn't working for me, right? Well, had you gone and maybe reproduced this on your own from scratch, you might have not been able to reproduce it yourself, right? Either. So there we go. Maybe it was a one-time glitch, reproduce the problem. Okay. Next is check the console and the debugger. Okay, so I didn't really go over that. Let's just quickly go to a web page. They're all done. Okay, let's just go to a web page. Let's go to this page. There we go. All right. So, yeah, go to a web page, open up the inspector. If you didn't know, it is Option Command I in every single browser. All browsers, Option Command I will open and close the dev inspector. And if you don't want to remember keyboard shortcuts, you can right click and say Inspect Element. Or just inspect in Safari, it says inspect element. In Chrome and a lot of other browsers, it just says inspect. Okay. And when you do that, it'll open up this dev console. Okay. Again, I have videos on this. I'm not going to dive into it all. Okay. There is a console tab here. Okay. And if you see any errors, they will show up in red. Okay, there's a lot of informational messages on this particular page, okay? And there's some warnings, but nothing in particular. But if you're having any sort of JavaScript errors, maybe tends to be some JavaScript conflicts, okay? And a lot of times if you're in Foundation, Foundation tries to help you and it puts up a little red box inside preview that shows you what shows you that, hey, there's a JavaScript error on the page. And it says like, it could be the jQuery legacy thing. That was just, most of the time is not going to be that jQuery legacy thing. Okay. But, that was a common problem way back in the day when I was migrating to jQuery 3. So yeah, there we go. Next up, so yeah, look in here for any errors. So especially if you see that, that error inside preview, that, hey, there's a JavaScript error. Preview in the browser, open up the console, go to this console, and you will see, oh, look, here's an error right here. Okay, that was just a 404, right? But you'll see errors. And a lot of times there will be a little caret like this guy here. All right, let's make that a little bit bigger, right? Like these warnings have little carets. You can expand that out. And a lot of times there's going to be more details about what that issue is. Sometimes this might click, maybe a certain class or a certain something shows up in there. You're like, oh, I recognize what that is. That was something I added earlier, right? And you might not always recognize what these errors are, but this gives you, at least arms you with some more information. Okay. So there we go. And if you really want it, a lot of these, you can like click on that and it'll like take you to the exact spot where that particular error is happening. That's kind of next level stuff. I mean, if you're curious, you can dive into all that, right? But yeah, just knowing the errors here and knowing kind of what's going on is important. Next up in the, I think I do that in a different slide. Okay. So yeah, a lot of times here, you're looking for syntax errors, missing files, right? Incorrect there's going to be all kinds of errors that show up in that dev console. Next is review the code. Now, I know a lot of you aren't coding, right? But as I said earlier, sometimes you get little snippets online or you're using ChatGPT, and sometimes those aren't the most reliable sources. So yeah, review the stuff that you've added. Okay. I would expect you to expect code that I ship to not have syntax errors. I'm not saying that never happens. Okay. But you should trust 99.9 of the code that is shipped by a developer or by me, especially. I am pretty strict, except when people force me to rush out updates, Josh. And, sometimes I'll mess up a little bit here or there, but I tend to fix those pretty quickly. Okay. So for the most part, okay, look at any code that you've added, whether or not it's a JavaScript snippet, whether or not, a common one is, for example, let's say, let's go into a project. A common one here is someone wants to add, let's say like an analytics tab, right? Or analytics tag, right? I don't even know if I have like a script in here somewhere. All right, here, I have no clue what this script is. Okay, but let's say let's pretend this is an analytics script. Okay, what they will do is they will go, oh, I have JavaScript that Google gave me or whatever service gave me, and they take that script and they put it in the JavaScript tab. Okay, now let's preview that. You see, boom, oh, I have an error. What's going on here? Okay, perfect example. So we open up the inspector. Okay, I go to the console, and unexpected token blah. What the heck is this? Right? So this is a common thing where this particular snippet that you gave me, so inside this JavaScript tab needs to be just JavaScript. Okay? But if you notice, this has a script tag. This is HTML. So where code like this would go is not in the JavaScript tag, but in the head tag or the body tag. Okay, it will go in either of those locations. Or you can chuck it into an HTML stack on the page. Okay? Only pure JavaScript goes inside of this. Now, if I wanted to, this does contain JavaScript, but basically what I would have to do is I would have to go into here and I have to delete that script tag, and I'd go on the bottom and delete that script tag, then it would work. Because now at this point, but I deleted one extra character up here. So now this contains pure JavaScript. Okay. I wouldn't recommend that approach. Just if you get a little script tag, from somewhere, plop it in the head or the body. Okay. Don't put it in the JavaScript tab. There we go. All right. That was a good little tester. So there we go. Yep. Here's a great example. Now this one doesn't give us any sort of errors. It's just saying there's an unexpected token, right? But that's a common thing that people tend to do. Sweet. So review your code. All right. Next is simplify the problem, right? So this kind of goes into where I duplicated that page and then I simplified it, right? We want to go down to the most simple solution to replicate the problem, right? So I just started deleting stuff from the page. I just hacked the page. Let's just simplify the page until I find the issue, right? So yeah, simplifying is one of the best things you can do, because a lot of times we have very complex pages. Remove a lot of the complexity and get down to just the raw two stacks or the two things, especially if you're asking for help and you're like, I found a conflict. Hey Joe, I found this issue. If you're like, whenever I have this stack on these two stacks on the page, boom, everything's breaks. I'm like, oh, that gives me exactly something to look into, right? So yeah, perfect example. Simplify the problem, and hopefully we can, through process of elimination, find out what that is. Okay, check browser compatibility. Now, another great thing about this solution that we saw, or problem that we saw today, was that it worked great in Safari. Okay, and here let's go back, right? So let's preview it in Safari. So boom, works great in Safari. Cool. If you didn't know, Option Command P allows you to preview in any browser you want, right? So I can preview in Firefox. So let's open up Firefox. I didn't have it open, so it's going to take a second to launch. And sometimes if it's not already open, you kind of got to do it again. All right. Oh, look, the problem also exists in Firefox, right? So it exists in Firefox, and then we can preview in Chrome or Edge or so on and so forth, right? So you can preview a lot of different, browsers. So yeah, check other browsers. Check, another one is, I think I have it, browser extensions, okay? So if you're using a browser extension, I use a lot of them. There are a lot of times where a browser extension causes issues with the stack. And sometimes there's nothing you can do about that. Okay. You can email the extension developer. Good luck with that. Yeah. Or you can potentially email me and maybe I can make some modifications to the stack. I can't guarantee, depends on what the problem is. Right. But, yeah, browser extensions cause issues, especially I think it's Honey, or there's a very popular shopping browser extension. I think it's called Honey. Okay. That is a nightmare. That breaks so many things. Okay. And it's just outside of my control. The extension just breaks web pages. Those developers need to be fired. Okay. Yeah. They're not great. That extension. Okay. So, that's a perfect example. I know that Honey one is horrific. Okay. But there are other ones out there. A lot of times, hey, why is my web page, the color showing up light or dark? Maybe it's like a lot of times people have like various extensions that like enable dark mode on a web page. And sometimes those extensions just apply wonky styles to a page. And there's nothing I can do about that, right? The extension takes precedence over the styles published on a web page. So anyway, okay. Okay. Inspect network activity. Okay. So, another common occurrence is, let me go ahead and close some of these other windows I have open here. Is, now let's go back to Weaver Space since it has more data. Okay. I'm going to refresh this. So there is a tab in here called the network tab. Okay. And, a common issue with web pages is, why is my web page loading so slow, right? Or sometimes a web page can take so long to load that it just causes other JavaScript issues, right? So look at this network tab, and you'll notice that there's a size column. Sort by size, okay? You notice here, the largest file that I have is 239 kilobytes. Okay. I've seen 15, 30 megabyte files. Like a lot of times, especially images, some people are loading, 500 megabytes worth of images onto a web page, and you're wondering why your web page is slow. Okay. So yeah, if you're feeling your web page is slow, especially if a web page takes a long time to load, it can cause other issues because it takes so long to load. So yeah, make sure your files are as small as possible. For images, use something like my rain check stack to like lazy load images onto the page as the user scrolls down the page. There's a lot of really great solutions for that. Okay. But yeah, this network tab, going to the size column and seeing all the files and how large they are. Okay. Make them as small as possible. I like to keep everything that I possibly can, like, in the kilobytes. Okay. No file that you're loading on a web page should ever be, I would say, more than 500 kilobytes, even an image. Okay. That's my opinion. Again, if you're in photography and you want to make sure a super high res photo is getting loaded, that's your decision. Okay. You get to make that decision, but I definitely wouldn't load a lot of them. Okay. So yeah, network tab size. It's a cool one. All right. Looking at the layout and styles. So I'm not going to dive into a lot of this, okay, today, but if you're, especially in Foundation 6, I have a lot of videos on this, like, troubleshooting styles and whatnot. Okay. And this is going to go into a little bit in playing with the inspector. Okay. But let's go into, I don't know, let's look at this purple box, right? I'm going to inspect this, this little box right here. Okay. Right there. Let's go. Let's keep going up. This one. I'm just kind of going until I see the. Where is that color? It's supposed to be here. All right. So here, this little search box here. Okay. If I go to the styles tab here, okay, you can kind of see all the various CSS styles that get applied, right? So if maybe the font size wasn't right, I could see, let's find something that is, let's find something there. Let's look at these. Let's look at these little boxes. All right. That doesn't really have much inheritance though. Trying to find something that has some inheritance. Give me a second, guys. Oh well. Let's just go for this one. Okay, so we'll notice that let's say it's these little boxes here, right? So I click on this, it's these little boxes here. Okay. And you can see all the various styles in here, and you can turn those on and off with these little, and you can see as I turn these styles off, watch this box up here. Okay. You can see it change, right? You can see the border radius, right? So you can kind of play around with it. And you know, what's kind of cool is you can actually modify this. So I could be like, I want my border color to be, I don't know, black. Okay. Oops. That's 5. One more. There you go. Black, right? Now I don't really show a border in there, so I guess that's kind of useless, right? But background color, I could be like, I want that to be red, right? And there we go. Now it's red. Okay. So you can do a lot of stuff in here. I'm not going to dive into all of this. Okay. I have pretty in-depth videos on this as well, on the Safari Dev Inspector and whatnot. So watch those on how you can play around with these and kind of manipulate the styles and play around with things and troubleshoot styles. Okay. It's an important thing though, especially if you're playing around with some more advanced SWOT strategies and you're like, hey, this is conflicting with that. What styles are getting applied, right? This definitely can be next level stuff. It's probably not for everybody. But yeah, if you're a tinkerer, I'm sure you'll get into that. Okay. So yeah, there it is possible for you to kind of debug your own layouts and styles and whatnot through the Dev Inspector. All right. Seek peer review. So next up is I've gone ahead. I've tried to troubleshoot this thing. I don't know what else to do. Okay. And so we have a community. The Weaverspace community is pretty amazing. And post questions. Say, hey, can you guys replicate this? And there's a lot of times where it's like, hey, dude, it's working great for me. Right. And sometimes the problem can be local to you, your Mac, maybe your system settings, your local network. I've seen that. That's a rare one, but a lot of times it could be your ISP doing something weird, right? It's happened before. Okay. So yeah, ask other people. Hey, can you test this out? Especially in what's great about Weaverspace is we have people all around the world. So, I can test. I'm going to be in a completely different part of the world when I test it. So I have completely different, network ways of getting to your site and whatnot, different caching, right? DNS issues, all that kind of jazz, right? So yeah, ask others. And please don't be scared. I know a lot of people are scared to death to post on Weaverspace. There's a lot of lurkers, okay? So if you're a lurker, don't be scared to post, okay? And of course, I think this is the last slide, right? RTFM, okay? Now I know you might think, Joe, you don't have any docs, blah, 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 right? Okay. I don't have a manual, okay? I have a Davide. No. So if we go into stacks, right? I try my best, okay, to supply inline documentation for all of my products, okay? And if you hover over any setting, you'll notice that there is a tooltip. Some tooltips are multi-paragraphs long, actually, okay? I do try to, if there's something that I feel needs a full explanation on what's going on, I will provide that information here, okay? Now, if you don't like these little tooltips or they're kind of hard for you to read, I understand. If you highlight a stack, okay, and this is better in Stacks Pro, okay, but if you go, can you right click on it? Let's see. Oh yeah, show online help. All of my stacks, every single one of them has online help. So if you click on that, okay, it will open up a Weaverspace page that has the documentation for this stack and all of its settings. Okay, let me show you that again. If you want to know a little bit more about the divider stack or visibility stack, okay, definition list, whatever, right click, show online help. And there you go. And that's a very simple stack, right? But here, let's go into something more complex. We were talking about impact earlier, right? Let's right click on that, show online help. There's the online help for impact. Okay. And it's not like a full how-to manual, but it has a decent explanation about the settings, so that hopefully you can obviously use it. Now, as you know, I'm big on videos and I work hard on creating a lot of videos. So in terms of documentation, check out the videos. Okay. Next up, if you don't want to watch all the videos, there is a great site. I'm going to give Chris a plug here for stacksguru.com. Okay. He's indexed 529 videos so far. Okay. And you can just search through the transcripts, which is pretty cool. Okay. I don't know. Let's search for impact, since that's what we're talking about today for some reason. There we go. So there's impact. So yeah, search through these. And if you go into it, right? So if you go into, for some reason I said impact inside this, you can see the full transcripts are here. You can even like search on the page, impact, where I said impact. Oops, if I type it right, that works better. I see I was talking about an impact update at 1 hour and 16 minutes into the video. So then you can play this video, go to that kind of timestamp, Voila. Oh, he has this little search on page thing. That's pretty cool. There you go. Even faster. Don't even need to use the browser search. It takes you straight there. Pretty cool. I think that's Scott's stack. Okay. So yeah, documentation. Next up is there's a lot of I've shown this before. I think we talked about it last week, maybe. I use this app called Dash. And it searches all like the CSS docs, right? So I can be like CSS. Let's say I want the documentation for the CSS background. Okay. And so I use Dash to do that. All of these resources are online. The Dash app just kind of makes it cool and convenient to access all those docs for JavaScript, CSS, HTML, PHP, and probably 1,000 other languages. So it's a very good app. And with that, we're done. That's it. Let me see if there's anything in the chat. Online help for swatches. Oh man. Oh, you mean like an online help for a swatch? So that is a problem. Okay. All right, here, let me share my screen again. So what he's talking about is if you add in a swatch. Okay, here, let's add a border swatch. Like, how can I get the help for this? Right? How can I get the online help for that? And currently, there isn't really a way. Okay, it exists. The online help does exist for these, but getting to that online help from a child stack, in Stacks plugin is not currently possible. However, it's possible. Do I show if we show hidden stacks? Let's do like border. Okay. So, I do, if you show hidden stacks, swatches do exist in the library. And at that point, you could right click on that and say show online help. Okay. And here's the documentation for the border swatch. Okay. The annoying thing is you have to show the hidden stacks. Okay. And then at that point, it's there. And they do show up in, are they going to show up? Oh, they all show up as like a site styles thing. Okay, so they're all in here. Man, that looks horrible. I like the site style stack when there's just a couple, but man, when there's a lot of them, that's a little bit obnoxious. But they are there. So that's one way you can do that. It is better in Stacks Pro. In Stacks Pro, there will be a link in the settings bar up here, so you can say like show online help for this stack. Okay. So there we go. So yeah, if you want docs on any swatch, there you go. All of them you can right click and say show online help for that. Again, better inside Stacks Pro already. Okay, they show up in the sidebar, which is cool. Good question. Thanks, Steven. Okay. Let's see if there's any other questions. I'm sure benefit for me. Oh, yep. Yes, Mr. Cole, I did ship some impact updates this week. Yeah, that was one case where I did rush out an update and I left an errant percent sign where I shouldn't have, and it did break some features, like the default features, but when you turn stuff on and off, I broke it. Okay, so or technically it never was working because it was a new stack. Blah 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 blah. Whatever. It's working now though. So sweet. Thank you, Mr. Cole. Okay, guys. I think that's it for today. I did that in less than an hour. Look at that. I'm 4 minutes shy. I thought I was going to go for a lot longer. So I hope you guys learned a little bit today. Yeah, I will take that the markdown of the deck that I did, and I'll plop it in the notes for this particular event on the community. So yeah, I think it's good. Hopefully, give me some feedback. Maybe I missed some steps, but I think we've kind of gone through a lot of just basic troubleshooting steps of things, and hopefully it makes your lives a little easier. Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your week. And yeah, tomorrow is the hangout, And I better get cracking because I gotta try to ship this Total CMS 3 beta tomorrow. I don't know. I got 2 more things left on my to-do list. See if I can get them done. I don't know. Might have to leak till next week, but we'll see. Take care, everyone. Hopefully see you tomorrow at the Hangouts. And see you on the community. Take care. Bye.